scarred for life because you pulled up to a bikini barista, not knowing that the lady.
It was the one and only time. So when I moved out, when I moved out to Washington,
and it's so awkward.
No, it was
once you're there,
these things don't exist on the East Coast. So it was my first day at the railroad.
Yeah.
And at this point, I didn't even drink coffee. I just wanted a goddamn cup of tea, and I just.
That was New York as coffee. Sorry.
To be fair.
So there was a cute little ladybug coffee stand.
Yep.
And I pulled up and I was like, do you have tea? And oh God! And then I pulled in here and then I tried to give the contractors that were working donuts, and then one of the John Slack was like, oh no, not for them. And then he looks at my freaking ladybug coffee cup and he's just like, you'll do fine here.
Yeah.
And I was like, I don't know what happened.
Picture, imagine if you will.
Yeah.
Picture it. System, 1990.
Okay.
Us shop guys are all standing around with our coffees just like this.
Yep.
And she goes, did you guys know that the little huts that are painted like ladybugs are actually, they got like strippers and in them? And we all went like, we all just went like this.
Yeah. Yeah. No, because when I moved here from Indiana, I had the same thing. I found one that was just pink. There was no marking on it.
That was their first impression of me.
Yeah.
And then I was already going and already knew that they didn't want me here. And I was like, listen, so like I'm from New York, I'm an asshole, I'm a liberal. Like we'll just learn to live together. And then I show up with my bikini barista coffee cup.
We're all going, you'll do fine.
You'll be fine.
You'll be just fine.
No, that was the same thing. You pulled up to the hut and I'm like, all right, well, this is now awkward and I'm not leaving. I need coffee. So we're
Well,
here.
and she didn't like, I mean, there were pasties. And
Yeah.
and I was not.
It's
It was
okay.
like
For an
7 in the
extra tip,
morning.
she pulled
I
out an
wasn't
ice
in
cube,
a
and I'm like, I'm
rave.
not about this. I don't
Like-
need the whole show. It's fine.
yeah.
No.
God gave
The
me
world
all
is-
of the
the world is your
characteristics to be a
oyster, depending
lesbian and
upon what you
I'm
want
not.
to do.
Like, it just wasn't.
Knew we needed
Anyway,
a fun size.
probably cut that out.
Just put a beep in it. Just put a beep in it.
This whole conversation.
No, that's staying. No, that's 4 minutes of absolute gold. That ain't going nowhere. That ain't going nowhere but up on the page there. That's absolute gold.
Worked for you
This
guys
is an
during
older guy,
Polar
though.
Express. You know anything about them? Are they any good? And I was like, well, I didn't hear any real complaints except for Santa and the Hero Kid. But honestly, you need to talk to Eric because he dealt with them more.
Yeah.
And so she, oh, well, maybe I'll go down there. I don't know. So I was like, okay, she ain't going to go down there and talk to freaking Eric. So I called Eric and said, hey, Eric, Sarah's got questions about the kids from Polar Express.
Yeah.
Can you go over there and get a cup of coffee or something? He goes, oh, yeah, I'll need a cup of coffee in about an hour. And so he said, no problem. So I said, thank you. And I left. And then I got the message about the people giving each other
Well, it was like 10
oral
o'clock.
services in his parking spot.
I was so confused because he's probably horrified because they're straight.
Yeah.
But like it was like 10 o'clock in the morning in like the parking lot, and I really I sent him a link to all the like back roads and logging roads around here for camping spots, and I was like, next time just give them this so that they have somewhere better to go.
Well, God bless horny teenagers. They can't wait.
No, I guess it was an older man. It wasn't a teenager.
Wait,
That's
grown
what I heard.
adult?
Yeah.
Ooh, that's a different
And
story
his
now.
girlfriend,
Now
his
we're treading in
girlfriend,
different
popped
waters
up out
here.
of his lap. I heard it was an older
Oh, I
gentleman.
thought they were
Then we're
Listen,
talking
I
hookers.
didn't-
Now we're talking hookers and blow. So now it's going in a different route. If it's a bunch of kiddies, it's hormones. But if it's 40 and up, we're talking blow and hookers.
There's freaking money involved. That was a business transaction.
Yeah, exactly.
That's gonna be our next
Money
city,
was
right?
set aside for that, for sure.
I don't know. We're
No, we got the car for it.
what?
Apparently we got the parking lot for it as well.
Apparently. Today's event, I felt so bad. I was like, I don't know what
I got a whole laugh out of it because I didn't actually. I was like, "Good for you, dude. I've just caught you. Don't get caught." You know, I just gave them that kind of look.
There's a back road, a quarter
And they were
mile
just
that
like,
way and a quarter mile
"Ah."
that way.
Just go find someplace different other than my parking lot.
That's what I'm saying. 5 minutes up the road, it's pitch black.
Right?
You
And
could
I-
have went around on a dark alley, did something like
And
that.
I'm like,
It probably would have been.
"There's a whole lot.
Yeah,
That
exactly.
it's not that hard to
Go
get
park
into."
Exactly.
Man.
Yeah, you had to park right next to the tracks, next to my Honda, out of all cars.
Just to put a little context on that conversation, somebody was caught yesterday in our parking lot doing something a little inappropriate. Folks, don't let that be you.
So this is our current restoration project. This is Porter number 5. It's the largest Porter mic still in existence. So kind of what we got going on here is the UT is almost done. They've got a few more spots right in here to do. And what we're kind of trying to look for right now is how much of this do we need to replace? What's the next approach for repairing the boiler? So one of the first things we got to do is we're going to come in here and burn all the flexible stay bolts out. And our good friend Chris Huffman made us these beautiful new flexible stay bolt caps. What we're going to do is we're going to weld all the caps on and install all 260 brand new flexible stay bolts. Got a couple of patches to do here and there, nothing too insane. And that's about it for the boiler right now. So right here we got the driver boxes for the 5, the old crown brasses and the old shoes and wedges. We got all the crown brasses pressed out, so we got our measurements that we need to make the new ones. All the new shoe and wedge materials pre-cut, waiting to just get finalized. Then over here we got the number 3 driver for the 5, and 2 weeks ago me and Chris went through and removed all the side bearing material off the back of the drivers. So new materials ordered. We just waiting on it to show up and we can install it, do the final cuts, and then in the next 5 video we'll start showing that off. Oh yeah, that's the good shit. So I'm continuing with the 5 rebuild. We're getting everything apart. So pulling all the old household insulation off the cylinders and starting to clean them up. Eventually we'll get around to pulling the pistons out and going through and trimming the engine so we can finish shoes and wedges. I like this. This is neat.
Yeah, so I used to have them all the way around like that.
Yeah.
But the ones on the other side are either broke off or whatever. Why the hell didn't they paint that?
I don't know. It's all flaking up. So in order to take the jacketing off, I had to remove the cylinder cocks. And what those do is when you're starting and the cylinders are cold, water accumulates in your cylinders. So you open up a lever in the cab that opens up those drains essentially and drains all the water out the cylinder because water doesn't compress and you don't want to blow a cylinder head.
I can't find my boy. Oh, that's my boy.
That's inside.
You're inside. You're inside of her.
You're inside of her.
How's it look?
I don't know, I just started.
Oh, God damn it. Okay.
According to the numbers I got yesterday, there's no need for a patch over here.
Okay.
Just gotta go here on, we'll see.
Okay.
Yeah.
We had a new guy running the UT machine a few weeks ago. We don't think he got the thing calibrated right because the numbers that Adam's pulling out of the same spots are exponentially bigger than the numbers that he got. If you don't calibrate the machine right, what it does, it'll give you a smaller number right off the bat all the time because it automatically goes down. So this new machine we have, you have to calibrate it, about every
4 spots or so.
Every 4 spots?
Yeah.
You have to recalibrate it to make sure that it keeps giving you the number. Otherwise, your number is going to start to shrink. And when thickness means everything on this, a small number means more work. So other than that, the thing is looking very well. It's plenty thick. Plenty thick. Minimal patching. These are the flexible stay bolts You see here, that's basically a ball. And then there's a socket inside that ball can rotate on. And it allows a little bit of flexibility between the outside of the boiler and the inside of the boiler. And these right here are homemade. This is what's called a Flannery style, and this right here is a homemade style. And these are the ones that they put on it back in the 80s, and they don't work right. So we're going to take all those off, but then when we started running the numbers on how many of these we actually were going to have to replace, we came to 60% needed to be replaced. And so we just decided that we were going to replace all of them for the sake of it's going to have all brand new stuff on it. So there's less maintenance in the future. And so far, other than a patch up front and a few patches in the firebox, the boiler is in really, really dang good shape. It's really thick, which it kind of, you see this pitting here. The thickness of the boiler being this thick, our condemning number is down in the 400s. So you see these pits in it because of how thick the boiler is. It looks like crap. But when you take a measurement off of it, it's not as bad as it looks. So the whole thing is a situation of it looks worse than it is. So we're gonna kind of get a real good idea after he's done with the firebox and finishes this side, just what a scope of work for have to work is gonna be. And then we'll start going around and going to places like this where it looks like crap and saying, well, since we're here, we might as well do that. And we might as well do this. We might as well do, get rid of all the questionable areas in it so that the boiler can run another 40 or 50 years. Metallurgically, from the tests that we've done, the boiler is metallurgically is in astonishing shape. We've magnafluxed the entire boiler at this point. There's no visible cracks, and we've taken probably close to 20 x-rays of different places on the boiler that were known to be problem areas and ruled out that they are not problem areas. So the only problem area we have is down here. I don't know how well the camera is going to pick it up, but there's a patch right here in the belly of the barrel, and they welded up the rivet holes, and then they installed this patch where you see these welds right here. This isn't full pin welding. This is just scab it together to get it out the door. And on the other side, in this exact same spot, there's actually a gap right here between the new sheet and the old sheet. And so we got to pick the boiler up off the steam chest and get in there. We're going to come back here the way they should have done it, get rid of the rivet holes and put a new piece in. And then that's going to make it to where, because of the way that it was done, the whole bottom part of the front tube sheet's been flexing. So it's got a bunch of stress cracks and stuff in it. So we're going to either take the tube sheet out below the braces and just put a whole new tube bundle and sheet in underneath, or we're just going to patch it right there in that spot. And runner. As soon as the FRA says they're okay with us doing it. Other than that, the running gear is about 60% done. That big circular material over there, that's the crown brass material, which is going to go in the driving boxes before too long. And we're going to have new springs made for it, and then the drivers go back underneath it. So we're pretty well on track to have this thing done right around the time of our initial timeline. We got to redo some stuff here. This is a lap joint. This is the steam delivery line. It comes down out of the branch pipes and into the valve here, and then down into the cylinder there. And you can see it's been leaking. So while we got the boiler jacked up to do that patch, we're going to relap all this and bring it back together and make sure it's got a good seal. And then there's ports. The only way it's getting oil right now is through this port. It feeds the oil into the steam delivery line, and then the oil has to find its way all the way down into the cylinder. There's a port down underneath here. We're going to add more oiling points for the engine so that we're getting oil into the steam, getting oil into the valve, and then getting oil into the into the cylinder, so she's well lubricated. We figure we're going to be doing this inspection at least every 8 years. And the 72, because we're planning on, as long as our numbers hold out. It used to be that this place would fire back up about May and then run May through the end of the year. And we just can't do that. You can't take 6 months off and be spending, $100,000 a month trying to, do maintenance and all that. With our philosophy on how we're operating the engines and maintaining the engines, we should be able to run them year round with very minimal problems. I'm not going to say we're not going to have any problems, because it's a 100-year-old piece of equipment. You're going to have issues that crop up. But our philosophy here is try to catch those issues before they happen. That's why we spend the money on them that we do. We spent $50,000 on bronze just for this thing. We're going to spend probably another close to $150,000 in the boiler by the time it's all said and done, to eliminate the question areas. Search for the question areas. Try to find them, to make sure that when we put it into service, that it can go out and it can operate the 162 days a year we demand out of it, or more. So on that kind of a schedule, it's going to be about every 8 years it's going to go through this level of inspection. And hopefully the next go around, when we do it, because we've done all the upfront work here, is just take the tubes out, run the numbers, make sure nothing's changed, put tubes back in, and send it out again. So, and the 70 is going to get the same treatment. It's, we've spent so much time on the running gear, making sure that the running gear is in good shape, that when we do the 1472, it's just take the tubes out, take readings, find the bad spots. If there is any bad spots, fix them, put tubes back in it. We don't have to do a complete rebuild of the whole locomotive, because that's the heart of the 1472 15-year inspection. It's not just the boiler that you're looking at. It's a complete inspection or rebuild of the locomotive. So if you stay on top of all your wear items through the course of that time, when you get to that inspection, you should have a really sound running gear underneath it, and just looking at the boiler. That's why we've spent so much time and money on the 70 doing what we've done. So that next year when we pop the boiler open, just fix the problem spots, throw tubes back in it. Instead of taking 2 to 5 years to rebuild the entire engine, we're through the process inside of 6 months. Engine's back out earning revenue. That's the philosophy we operate off of here. This thing was built in 1924. 70 was built in 1922. They were built to go earn revenue for their owner. They are still doing that. If they can't reliably generate revenue, then you might as well park them. And that's the driving force behind our philosophy, is that this thing is still doing what it was built to do in 1924. So it has to be able to do it now, spend the money on it so that it can do that, versus try to bubble gum it together to get to the next 1472 or 15-year inspection. This engine right here suffered massively from the, come on baby, just get me one more run, one more weekend. That's all we need out of you. We'll rebuild those parts here in a little bit. And then it just got so worn out that now it needed a complete total overhaul, and the Band-Aids were the worst parts of it. So, yeah.
Treat her right, she'll treat you right.
There's a Star Trek quote from Admiral McCoy in Star Trek The Next Generation, where he says, treat her like a lady and she'll always bring you home. It doesn't just apply to the Enterprise, that applies to this. If you keep care of it, you oil it, you excessively oil it, you excessively grease it. There's no such thing as too much oil and too much grease on a steam engine, because they're a 100% loss system. They're just a big rolling oil slick. You throw it at it, you treat her right, she'll always bring you home. And she'll always take you out the next day and do it all over again. You start to give her some neglect, and she's going to be like, screw you, dude. And I'm the type of person, you bring my engine back broken too many times, guess what? You're no longer playing with it.
Life lessons right there.
Yep.
Life lessons right there. Message.
And even just making sure that each one, those are the drivers over there, and that's the main driver. You have to figure out where that driver is sitting inside each one of these holes for the driver, and it has to be sitting perfectly centered, because where those drivers sit directly correlates with this and that, because your valve timing is driven off of the driver. Your piston stroke is driven off of the driver. So just the math involved with that, you gotta, this thing, there probably is a blueprint somewhere for it. Books that tell you how to do it. I mean, there's literature out there that tell you how to take care of one of these things. There's books upon books upon books upon books. And if you're like me and you know how to read, you know how to comprehend what the book's telling you, you can figure out what you need to do. So you gotta go through all the math to figure out where exactly those drivers have to sit so that you can machine your shoes and wedges so that when you put them in, the driver is sitting in just the right spot so that it can drive the valve timing, so that the valve can speak to the piston just right, and so that your driver is not sitting in such a way that your piston is either going ahead and slamming the forward head or the backward head, and that your cutoffs are in the exact right spot. It's just the math involved it's simple, complicated math is what it is. It's not like sending a rocket to the moon, but there is a lot of trig, there's a lot of calculus, and there's a lot of geometry going on top of all the physics behind it. That's one of the math calculations that you're trying to figure out, just how big of a boom the inside is trying to make, so you can make sure that that shell is containing all that energy, all that pressure. Yep. Creepy.
It's all hanging out around 370 to 350.
Okay. So our condemning number on the inside there is 337. So what we're gonna do is, as soon as he gets done looking those spots over again, is we're gonna go through the entire firebox and we're gonna start looking for those low numbers. If it's around 337 or lower, the sheet gets cut out and a new one put in. A flush patch, corner, whatever it might be. So the way I'm operating on this is the condemning number is 337, but if it's 337, we're not going to run 337 because that's the absolute fine line. We're going to bump our safety factor up because these things run with a safety factor of 4. They legally have to have that. And so if you're at 337, your safety factor of 4 is right on that line. And I don't like to run right on the line. I want to be on 4.1, 4.12, 4.2 in some cases. So most of the boiler is running with a safety factor of 4.5 or 5.1. So when we do that inside, if it's at that safety factor of 4, it's getting cut out, and then we're going to bump it up to a safety factor of 4.1, 4.2, whatever, just to give it that little extra cushion of safety. So.
Hey, we should do tires before we do ballast next time.
Well, we should try to lift the dips out of it before we do ballast next time. That kind of It'll work for now.
I'll take it out of there and do it the other way.
Yeah.
A little more. A little more, a little more, a little more. Just pull that hole in. Let it down just a little.
It's always the problem trying to find the hole.
Yeah.
There's some hair on it. Oh, yeah, the right length.
So she said.
Bad, I guess. Let's see. There's the hole. Repurposed. Yeah, the crazy thing is this freaking bolt's probably gonna last 6 months. Whereas the actual made pin only lasts about 4.
Well, the made pin's probably grade 8. This,
Well, we made these last about 4140.
yeah, we got here and then
This happened?
Yep.
That's a perfect time for lunch.
Perfect time for lunch.
because that bird is we'd already ate for lunch.
Second lunch.
Like
Second lunch. Nah, thumb broke on the excavator. Second lunch.
Yeah. Going back to the store to get some beer.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly.
Yeah, I told Jackson, I was like, hey, don't laugh. It's gonna look really fucking goofy here for a bit.
Yeah. I was out cleaning a freaking ditch with this thing and it did the exact same thing. Yeah, like I said, I just strapped the thumb up and then I forget the thumb was broken. I try to grab something and it was like, ah.
I did it twice. I was just like, oh man.
People don't understand when you go from running an excavator with the thumb to not having a thumb, it's almost crippling.
Oh yeah. The old lady's dad's Lyndon right now looking at that excavator. Made a comment to her. She's like, I'm gonna have to change the controls around. I go, wait a minute. Don't tell me he knows John Deere controls.
Yeah.
It's like, nah,
What?
he doesn't deserve to own an excavator at that point.
Yeah. That just ain't right. Golden.
It's something.
If you were the one working the parlor car, you probably felt it lean over a couple of times. This is one of the spots that was leaned over. It was pretty bad up through here. There's a culvert right here, so it sinks. And right down there behind the Yukon is milepost 43. Up over here is milepost, that's actually 44, and up over here is 43. And we called this the Miracle Mile because we thought it was a miracle that it got done. So we came out here to Tamp last week and started trying to raise it up and tamp it, and all the ties that had been acceptable ties, when the tamper got a hold of them, because of how high we were having to lift it without nipping the ties, we broke the ends of the ties off, or the ties broke, or they weren't as good as what we thought on the surface, because you can only do so much when judging a tie. So they're out here today. They did a low spot down there behind the Yukon. They're doing this spot, and there's another spot up by milepost 43 that they're gonna put a bunch of ties into to firm it up. We'll come through here at Tampa tomorrow and tamp it all again. Hit it with the regulator and it'll be good.
Plate back in. What's that?
But the ladies are gonna love that. Jackson flexing his muscles.
Jackson, Capricorn, loves long walks on the beach, single.
The Leo, actually.
Leo, there we go. Lion pride. I love that.
Yeah. Yeah, the Scorpio. Women only like Scorpios for a minute.
It's like I gotta see about Gemini.
Well, bad part about the Scorpios, they want to 15 times a day.
Yeah.
I'm gonna break this.
So again, ladies, that phone number is 206.
Yeah, fantastic.
Hey, break it to you, now you need to go that way.
Yeah, I know. Get my good side.
That's the money shot right there. That's the money shot.
No.
That one's easy for you.
Problem is we gotta nip it though.
Yeah, cool. I'll run the tamper down here and squeeze it up against it for you.
If you give me that fancy machine, I wouldn't have to do any of this.
Well, when he actually comes on the frickin' payroll, he can make the phone call to the trucking company and go and get it.
What was that, 2 weeks from now?
It depends if I can.
Wait.
talk to you or-
So how much longer do I have this for? Another 2 weeks? 3 weeks here now? Hold on here, meow.
That's it.
I don't really think they're gonna be out doing much for ties between now and when that thing shows up.
I could spend the next 2 weeks ditching this whole thing.
Damn near.
I tried getting the mini stuck earlier.
Twice. Out over there, and whenever you unloaded, they're both sketchy.